Hey everyone, here is Daniel, and today I'm talking to Sarah from Desert Does It. And Desert Does It is one of our partners, e-commerce partners. They are a US-based company selling seat jackers on the US market, and this is actually a trademark product, so it's super interesting. And I just want to ask a couple questions from you today because we've been working together for more than a half year now, and we got some great results for email marketing. So first of all, can you tell us when did you join the company and why did you join this company?
Yeah. So I've actually been a part of the company in an unofficial and then official capacity since the beginning. The founders, Steve Lindsay and Joe Lund, I can be that. The founders, Steve Lindsay and Joe Lund, were best friends, and I'd known these guys for years. We'd all grown up together and in the same part of the country in the desert Southwest. And essentially, they found this problem that was a known problem. It was fairly universal to folks who are in the off-road and overlanding communities, where these vehicles that are really popular in those enthusiast communities are just incredibly uncomfortable. When you spend a lot of time in those vehicles, right, it causes a lot of back pain. There just isn't the lumbar or leg support that there should be for spending a long time in a vehicle. And obviously, overlanding is a long form, and off-roading can be pretty hard on your body. And so seat comfort is incredibly important. Joe had actually just bought a new vehicle, was experiencing a lot of pain, and he, between the two of them, Joe, a master machinist, Steve, an engineer, kind of put their heads together and were like, we can solve this problem. And essentially it just blossomed. They started asking folks if this was a problem, started making them from friends and family, and then eventually it became the garage business, and just continued to grow from there. I had been in the last decade in the advertising and marketing world, and so Steve and Joe reached out to me to just kind of brainstorm, put heads together, and as it grew, I became a little bit more and more involved in the company until ultimately I'm running the marketing department.
Yeah, amazing. And what was the biggest challenge so far in your since you've been in the company?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's been a pretty crazy. I mean, we started in 2019, and so we just hit a lot of weird economic and market factors, right, that most companies could never anticipate. We also came in just as, kind of influencer marketing hit the scene. And so what we were experiencing was rapid growth, but like really inconsistent. And, you don't anticipate 30% growth one year and then flat the next, and then, another 30% the next year. And so we were really struggling with consistent scaling, in a way that's a little bit more manageable, especially internally, like operational side, right? Just understanding what to anticipate. And so that consistent scaling, and then as our product is really unique. It's a patented US made product, which means that we are more expensive than the ones that are made overseas, right? And so that responsible consumership comes with a little bit of a price tag. And so conversion for us, especially because it's a long tail product, conversion for us became just incredibly critical. So being able to plug all of those holes in the conversion funnel, because the further along you've got, right, the more expensive that person has been to acquire. And so for us, conversion, especially at the point of purchase, just became incredibly important.
Yeah, got it. And how come the idea that you would partner up with an agency? I remember probably when we first talked, you were skeptical about it. I remember we had this podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious why you decided to go with an agency for email marketing.
Yeah, I mean, we had met, Steve and I did a founders podcast with you, really just talking about the business and, how we had got off the ground. And then in conversations following up with you, we talked about email marketing. And frankly, I didn't really know that we had a problem, because right, email can seem fairly simple until you understand, I think, how much you're actually leaving on the table. I think that was really eye-opening for us in that, we thought we were doing fine. We had our transactional emails set up. We, would put out a newsletter every once in a while, and just didn't really understand how much revenue we were losing by not having that really buttoned up professionally. And so when we engaged you guys for the first time, frankly, you had some very audacious goals, and I really loved that. I like somebody who's going to swing for the fences, even though, my expectations were not that high. It was like, well, if you improve it by any means, that's better, right? Like any improvement is great. But we saw essentially you doubled our email revenue from that channel, which was wild. You said you would, and you did it. But it was still pretty incredible to see just in the first month or two, right? Those numbers essentially double.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that. And kudos to our team, because honestly, they work really independently of me.
Yeah.
So I'm not micromanaging or anything. They know what to do, what's the strategy. And yeah, they've been doing a great job. So shout out to them, and also to your founder. So yeah, I think both teams, they work really well. Months. What would you say? What was the number one thing that could double this revenue? What had the biggest impact?
Yeah, I before I move on to that, I do want to say kudos to the team, because I think one of the things that founders really fear the most about bringing on a partner like this is that they'll lose kind of the voice of the company, right? When we're handling emails on our own, it feels very personal. It feels like this is a direct message, right? And what I loved was that your team held on to that and maintained it, even though they were helping us manage, right, a lot of that additional traffic in those different segments. So we were able to maintain our voice. We're still very involved, with the strategy in each of the emails that goes out, but we've taken a lot of that off our plate. So just wanted to thank your team also for maintaining kind of the heart of the company, because that's a real big fear for founders. I think, though, one of the things that really helped the success was, first off, cleaning up all of our flows, really optimizing, right, retention and acquisition through flows. But also, I think your team, because conversion was like such a critical juncture point for us, and being a U.S.-based company made in the U.S., our costs are higher, our margins are lower, and so I think your team was really helpful in kind of building a discount strategy. And that's like a strange thing to say, but building a discount strategy that really helped us retain as much revenue as we possibly could, but without sacrificing conversions. They did some A/B testing against a lot of those flows to make sure that we weren't going to lose any by reducing the number of discounts that we offer. And I think we found a sweet spot.
It's amazing to hear. My last question. So what would you recommend to companies who are in similar shoes where Deezer Does It were or was a year ago, 1 year ago?
Yeah.
Maybe not knowing about the potential in email marketing and just being unaware. What should they do?
Yeah, I think, it can be a little bit of a leap to jump to help with email for a few reasons. First off, it seems like we're handling it fine, right? Like we are getting revenue from it, right? And you just don't realize how much more there is that you could get from email. I think the other thing is you don't realize how much time and energy that you're putting into your emails, right? That is just suddenly back in your court, right? A lot of sleepless nights and email crunch times and things like that bought a lot of time back for us. And it seemed at first when we were going to pay for email, which was previously almost free, right? You don't realize how much better your email can be and then how much better your ROAS will be. So, it can feel like you're you're putting a lot of money out front for something that used to be free, but then you see that revenue coming in at much higher rates, right? You understand the value of having basically a professional handle the email.
Yeah, email marketing is content creation at the end of the day, and content takes a lot of time. So designer, copywriter, strategizing, analyzing, it's a lot of time. So
yeah, and there's an expertise to it. I mean, the quality of emails, and I was writing them before, so I'm not, but that was so much better, right? Increase the quality, increase the consistency and experience for our end users and for our community, and provided a lot more value. Which I don't know, maybe that's an ego hit for some people, but for me it was better, just better all around.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, and I hope we will achieve even better numbers in the future this year.
Yeah, and, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Daniel, and thank you to the Budai team.